What is the most powerful trait we have? You need power, speed. Let your imagination do the rest.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Boxing King Media, we're out here for another virtual episode of the Brutally Honest podcast. We're miles apart. So Dom, I thought we'd we had to try and get a prediction and some talk regards to this week's activity in the boxing world. So I thought we'd get it done virtually. So thank you for coming on.
No problem.
I know you're not a big fan of Zooms, so I just noticed there's a nice picture there, a bit of history.
Oh yeah, that's Kitty's got pride of place in the living room. That picture what you got me with my dad. So he's constantly looking over me every day. It's I can feel the presence.
Yeah, did you? I think that's one of the first things I gifted to you. I think when we started doing stuff together, and that blue cap. I remember you wore it in one of the interviews, and I remember
Yeah,
you telling me it was your dad's cap. So
I've still got it. It's upstairs. Yeah, I wear that every now and again. It's fading. It's fading. But I think we did it in the yard of the gym, didn't we?
we
The
did.
first time.
What's the quote? I can't remember the quote. What's the quote on there?
The quote: "You keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your mouth shut."
Look at that. That's some of the best advice you can give anyone.
That's very true.
Yep. So let's jump into. There's a lot of things I want to fly through, so I'll quickly have a quick chat about him. Harlem Eubank at the weekend. His fight with Jack Catrell. They had a headbutt incident, and the fight obviously got called off. Horrific cut on Jack Catrell, and Harlem had a small cut as well. But Harlem after the fight, he was disappointed in the decision. He felt it was a draw up until that point, and he raised some concerns about. He mentioned Carl Frampton. It was the first time Carl has ever worked for on a matchroom show, but he basically described it as a go along, get along gang, and I think he was basically trying to say Carl Frampton, Darren Barker, Tony Bellew. He's trying to refer to them all as like former matchroom fighters, all kind of working in house, and I think he was kind of suggesting that they may impact the judging. That's where he was coming from. Obviously, Carl's since come back and obviously fired back at him. So I just want to get your take on that. Was the decision right? Did the right guy win? And is there an element of what Harlem's saying, or is he just
Yeah, Jack Catrell won, and this is the issue. I mean, he's all right, Harlem Eubank, and it don't really matter what Cole Frampton's saying or the commentary team. The judges aren't listening to them. Do you understand? They're not listening to them. They're not going to influence anybody. That's just their opinion, and the judges are in a position where they see themselves above everybody else anyway. They're not going to be, intimidated or persuaded by commentary teams behind them. Yeah, I think what it came to there is, look, Jack Catrell's been up there. Yeah, he had fights with Taylor, and that was probably the turning point in his career where he really needed to win and move on. And now he's kind of leveled off a little bit. Then he got beat in his last fight before Harlem Eubank, and then he's come back against domestic opposition. And Jack Catrell's just a more rounded fighter. It's always an awkward style against the southpaw. But Jack Catrell is well schooled. He's had decent trainers, in the past, and he's got Jamie Moore now, and he kept it kind of calm and collected, whereas Harlem Eubank kind of came in as a fighter it was almost like somebody doing a juggling act at the same time as trying to throw shots. He was doing a lot of distraction technique. I remember one time he came in front of Catrell. He jabbed, he missed, he fainted, he rolled in front of him, he stood back and then started doing kind of a Philly roll, a Philly shell. And there was no pressure on him. He was wasting a lot of energy, trying to find openings. Arms up here, he's jabbing up into the air with his left hand and then, distracting it out. And Catrell just kind of sat back as a southpaw and just relaxed and picked the cleanest shots he could. And he was kind of lost for ideas how to break through with Catrell. There were times when he'd advanced forward from the orthodox position, and he step forward with his right foot and try and get shots off that way. But he never really seemed too much of a threat to Catrell. Catrell just kind of composed himself and stuck to the basics. So I don't think there was any wrongdoing in the result. And whoever we're talking about, Harlem Eubank, I think it might have been his promotions teams talking about him being world class before that fight. He's definitely not world class. He's been built up very cleverly. He's been on Channel 5. He's been promoted very well. And he just didn't come up to mark. That's the sad reality of it. But domestic level, British title, he might have a chance. But like I said, not against an experienced operator like Jack Catrell, who's he's always going to be an hard fight with Jack. Just look at his fights in the past; it's always quite hard with him. He tends to have clashes of style. I know he did with Taylor. So, like I say, all of Eubank blaming everybody, then saying everybody's got stuff against the Eubanks. They ain't got nobody's got stuff against the Eubanks. The Eubanks are lucky in boxing because they divide the crowd. You either love them or hate them, but you're going to turn up to watch them, and that's what you want. They've covered all aspects, and that was started by Chris, Eubank Senior, and it's carried on with Chris Eubank Jr. And you've only got to look at Eubank Jr.'s last fight with Conor Ben and his next one, what's coming up. It creates that massive interest. So it's working, and it's worked in their favour. So for him to pull it out of the bag, saying, people have got stuff against the Eubanks, yeah, of course they have. But it doesn't affect, how well they've done in boxing. It's actually been a bonus for them.
Yeah, so and sticking with the Eubanks, Dom, Chris Eubank Jr., your other favorite fighter, just been stung with another fine, 10,000 for improper use of social media. That video he put out of himself during fight week, making weight in that sauna suit, he's been fined £10,000 for that. What do you make of that?
It's not a massive fine. It's a slap on the wrist, really. They could have really gone to town on him, but it's a kind of token gesture, slap on the wrist. And maybe Eubank put that out in the first place, thinking about it, that if anything did go wrong in the fight, he could always pull back and say, well, look what I had to do. This is what I had to do. I had to kill myself making the weight. So, he's got away with it lightly, I think. But I don't think the board really could have justified doing it charging him any more than that. It's just one of them things, isn't it? So he's got away with it lightly, to be honest.
Well, if my calculations are right, he got fined 100,000 for
I think somebody worked it out. I looked at what he'd been fined, and it's with everything what's gone on in the last so many fights, he lost something like £495,000. That's what he came to. It is a lot of money, but how much money is he making? He's making a lot of money.
The rumours are 10 mil.
Right, he's making a lot of money. And if that's what you have to invest in yourself to get people to buy into it, which he has, because it is, the egg in the face, fantastic, stunt to raise the numbers, and everything he does, he's it's an investment in the fight, isn't it? People are gonna buy it off the back of that. So it's £500,000 and he's made 10 million. Well, it's a tax write-off, isn't it?
Fair play. The other news that's happened in the last couple of days is drugs tests failing again. We joked about Eddie Reynoso the other week. I think he was joking about him as well. Another fighter under his watch. He doesn't train him, but I think he manages him as part of his management team. Francisco Rodriguez, we talked about this well-experienced fighter fighting Galal Yafai a few weeks ago, and we was talking about how hard it is, and he's now failed a drugs test. There were suggestions. I think Sonny Edwards doing the commentary kind of alluded to the fact that wait till the test comes back because of the amount of punches he threw, but he's only gone and proven everyone right and failed a test. What do you kind of make of that? Because I did like a bit of a conversation with Eddie Hearn, and I said it's a shame that he got caught on fight night and not in camp, because in camp he was tested and he passed all. So
well, what that makes me think then is that he's just looking at that fight, and Sonny Edwards is not daft, and boxers aren't daft. You can tell he looked like somebody was definitely on stimulants. He never stopped. So if he's passed his tests during the camp, there'd be no need to take stimulants because he's just doing his training. So it looks like he's took a stimulant on the night, which has zoomed him up and made him go a million miles an hour, like just an high work rate, because he just never stopped, did he? And it's good that he's been caught, because he kind of, it wasn't a fair fight, and Yafai, obviously the stage he's at, it looked like he got well beat, but he's only been well beat by somebody who's had an advantage. So that kind of gives more credibility to Yafai, and fair play to Yafai, because You know, he took some big shots. He got dropped, and he never once looked like quitting. And you've got to give him credit for that, for sticking in there. And it's a good job he did, because now this has come out, he can go for it again. He should be put into a place where he can get back into position. If he'd have got knocked out or whatever, psychologically, it would have probably affected him. So imagine he got knocked out round 5 or 6, 7, bad. And then this comes out about the drugs, and he gets his chance. He's going to be psychologically scarred for the next fight. So at least he's got, the fact that he finished on his feet, he gave the best account he could of himself, considering the circumstances, and it wasn't a level playing field. So, it's good that they've tested. It's good that he's come out, and justice will be served, and he'll get his chance again, Yafai.
Well, sticking with the drug tests, in fact, I'll come back to, in fact, yes, worth mentioning. Imm Katayb, he's fighting David Morrell on the New York show this weekend. So he's allegedly failed a test, well, not allegedly, he has a test last year, and it was clomiphene that was found in his system, and it was the IBA organization that dealt with that, and they've banned him. However, that 2-year ban that he's on he only started recently, so it ends in 2027. However, it's not under the jurisdiction of the USA, so he's fighting this Saturday as a proven drugs cheat, because that's what the facts are. Like, how messy is that, Dom? Should he be allowed to fight? Is it?
Well, there's already been a precedent set with that, hasn't there? Because Conor Benn did the same thing. He got banned in UK for clomiphene, and he boxed in America. So maybe that's the loophole. But
He was suspended though, wasn't he? And then obviously his case got dropped.
yeah, well, but even when you're suspended, you're not supposed to fight, really. But whichever way, the fighter you're talking about, that's then to the discretion of the promoter and the fighter is fighting. So they've got if they want to say no, they can say no, can't they? And they can get another opponent, because obviously if he's on a ban, he's coming in as the opponent anyway. So they must be very confident they're going to beat him. But yeah, he's been allowed to fight, and this is just how twisted sport is sometimes. Like we said this all along, haven't we? That you look way back to when Canelo failed with clenbuterol in England. That's a 4-year ban. That's a 4-year ban. Look at the the time that that Conor Benn had out with clomiphene, which is very mild, I would have thought, but the time and money and effort that went into him with the UK, stopping him from boxing, and then this happens where it's like, well, he can fight, no problem. He's on a ban somewhere else, but he can fight in America. It needs to be really uniform, and America, need to kind of fall in line and respect, even though the IBA aren't probably recognised in America. It still lies with the fact that the fighter has been handed a ban, and that's what it is. If this is allowed to happen, and fighters get away with it, then other fighters who the fighting could end up with some serious damage, can't they? Fighting against a proven drug cheat.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange situation, but like you said, there's nothing stopping it from happening.
No, but they should be, shouldn't they? But look, like I say, who's he fighting?
Dave Morello's a very, very good fighter. He's on
Right.
with David Benavidez.
So he's obviously looked at this guy and thought, well, regardless, I'll beat him. It don't matter to me, and that's their choice. They have the option, don't they? I remember talking to somebody years ago in America, and at one time, I never quite understood this, and I can remember when Johnny Nelson boxed in Las Vegas. He boxed in Las Vegas on the undercard of Oscar de la Hoya and Trinidad. And Johnny was in a world title fight, boxed a guy, and there was no drug test after. Didn't have a drug test. And I asked somebody, and the fella goes, "Oh no, we don't do drug testing in Las Vegas." So, and then it came into play many years later, and you had to, when fighters fought there, if you wanted to have a drug test, you kind of had to pay for it and get somebody else, some separate organization to do it, because they didn't do it. And they were talking about one fight, and it might have been about Mike Tyson, and somebody was telling me that if they fought Tyson, they got X amount of money if they did it with a drug test, which were less. But if they didn't do it with a drug test, they got paid more to fight Tyson. So the incentive was always to get more money. So most of the times there wasn't a drug test, fighting Tyson. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But when you've seen in later interviews when Tyson has admitted to taking drugs and doping through his career, it just kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
That performance enhancing, not performance, the recreational drugs.
No, and well, whatever they no, whatever. But
Oh, I've heard him talk about coke and stuff.
yeah, there's always been rumours about Mike Tyson. I think with taking performance enhancing drugs. But anyway, that might just be rumour and speculation.
Indeed. Um, but before I jump on to part two, uh, I just want to let the fans know if they want a VIP experience. I don't know if you've ever done this, Dom. Have you ever sat in the Royal Box at Wembley?
The Royal Box at Wembley. Why would I get an invite to the Royal Box at Wembley? No, I ain't.
Well, if you want to go, I might be able to make it happen if you want to go watch Usyk Dubois from there. So there's a company called the Green Room Experience. They've got an exclusive amount of tickets where they're going to have Ricky Hatton, Johnny Nelson, and I think Carl Frampton, but just double check that. I'll have the website link pinned in the comments. But they're selling tickets for an exclusive amount of people. I think it's about 150 people who get drinks, dinner, a talk show, Q&A with them three, as well as watching the
Well, it's a great advertisement, and I can imagine it's going to be a great experience. But you probably won't get me in a box listening to them talking about boxing, drinking, and eating, especially Ricky when he's had a few pints. It's not
quite
my idea.
funny.
Yeah, he is, but it's just not my idea or a good time, to be honest. But yeah, I can imagine it'll suit the hell of a lot of people. But that'd be my worst nightmare, to be honest. And have you heard that Ricky's actually fighting again?
I know. I was gonna lead on to that. But if the fans
Mm.
want any tickets for that event, there's only a few left. I'm gonna pin the link in the comments to this video, and you can hit up the Green Room Experience. But Ricky Hatton coming back, I've got no idea whether it's an exhibition or a real fight or what, but he's doing it in Dubai.
Yeah, I was obviously I was there at the weekend, and the venue and the promotion, the organisation who's promoting it, who promoted the fight as I had on, are promoting his fight. And I think after the show finished, they put a big video screen on, and Ricky talked to the crowd saying he's fighting there in December the 2nd. I think it's something like it's a national holiday like United Emirates Day or something like that. Somebody said, I said, why is this show on a Tuesday? It's a national holiday over there, I think. So that'll be interesting.
Indeed. So jumping on to part two, Dom, I want to talk to you about the big fight weekend this Saturday and Friday night in New York. Um, Initially, I want to mention the uh, the fight on the chief support for the card on Saturday. William Zepeda takes on Shakur Stevenson. I know you're a fan of Shakur Stevenson. Zepeda's undefeated. Had a couple of close fights with Tevin Farmer, who we've just seen get knocked out in the first round. Shakur Stevenson is putting pressure on him that he wants to see action. Wants to see him let his hands go. This all-out punching Mexican throws a lot of punches. What do you see happening?
I think Shakur Stevenson's just one of them fighters who who comes along every 10, 15 years. He's an exceptional fighter. And I think sometimes he just does enough to win the fight. But maybe this Zepeda is going to bring the best out of him and make him fight, and it's going to be a great performance. But I don't see Shakur Stevenson getting beat anytime soon. He's just a quality operator. But I think they've matched him right with somebody who's going to come at him, throw everything at him, and make him fight. And then we'll see actually what Stevenson's made out of.
Indeed. And then before I talk about the big fight, I want to talk to you about the women's show on Friday. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, they're going for the trilogy. What do you see happening?
Well, they've always been really close fights, haven't they? I think even when I think one was a majority and one was unanimous, but I think even the unanimous was only by a point or two for Katie Taylor. I just think that Katie Taylor is now 39. Serrano's about 32. I just think maybe this is going to be the time when Serrano's just got a little bit more left in the locker, and it could be, and it's in America as well. It could be a time, it could be a time to pull it off, because getting older in boxing is a big disadvantage, especially if you're a woman. I know Katie Taylor's tough and she's all these things, but she's scraped past the last two fights. This could be the one where Serrano takes it.
Okay, you're going for Amanda Serrano win?
I'm gonna throw the cat amongst the pigeons and I'm gonna go for Serrano.
And Shakur Stevenson points knockout.
Probably points.
Okay. And then another fighter that I know you're also admirer of, Savannah Marshall, trained by Peter Fury, but because of Peter's previous, he's not allowed to enter the US. So John Pegg will be leading the corner. Well experienced man. What do you think of her fight against Shadesa Green, big punch in America?
Yeah, I mean, I remember once meeting Savannah Marshall in person. She's huge. I can't believe how big she were. So yeah, she's one big unit, isn't she? The problem there could actually be not having Peter in the corner. So it looks like, I'm not going to say a routine win, but it looks like a win on paper for Savannah Marsh. It'll be a tough fight, but it looks like a win for her. The disadvantage is she's away from home, and Peter's not going to be in a corner, and John Pegg's going there, and it is always a distraction when you haven't got your full team, because that's what you're used to. So that could be an issue, but I would still expect Savannah Marshall to win this fight. Maybe not as easy as she should do because Peter's not there and she's gonna have to adjust to the corner team. But I think she'll get through this fight.
Make it points, knockout.
Yeah, points, I think.
Okay. And then the fight I'm really looking forward to talking to you about is Edgar Belanga versus HAMZAH SHEERAZ. Very similar records on both of them, big punchers. Both have got well, Hamza's still undefeated. He's got the draw, and obviously Belanga's lost to Canelo. Before we talk about the breakdown in the fight, you've seen the video, the press conference today. A lot of drama. Edgar threw pink knickers, a whip, some sex toys, and $1 bills, Oscar De La Hoya, because they've got some beef. I don't know if you noticed who picked up the $1 bills, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
No.
Put them in his pocket. Well, if I told you it was between Eddie Hearn, Spencer from Brown from Gold Star, Frank Warren, and Oscar De La Hoya, who do you think picked up the $1 bills and put them in his pocket?
Spencer Brown.
No, it was Eddie Hearn. So yeah, Eddie, there's quite a funny video where he just rounds them all up and slips them into his pocket.
No,
But
that's
yeah,
Eddie, innit?
is that going to be a distraction for Edgar? The amount of beef he's had with Oscar at a press conference, does that take energy away? Does that do anything?
Well, it is. Well, it might do because he's direct. Why is he direct? Why is he thinking about Oscar? He should be directing this towards Hamza, shouldn't he? Really? I mean, if Oscar was there back in the day, he'd give that kid a good hiding, wouldn't he? Because regardless what Oscar De La Hoya did or whatever he does behind closed doors, is his own business. He's not breaking the law, is he? Has he committed any crimes? Is he a criminal? No, he's not really. If he's got that kind of fetish, that's down to him. He's not ended up in court like P did he, has he?
No.
With a load of baby oil. So he's not on that scale, is he? He's not managed to get himself investigated and locked up and whatever. And so, if that's what he wants to, that's fair enough. But you still can't take it away from Oscar what a tremendous fighter he was. That Belanga should probably be happy that somebody is as good as De La Hoya's insulting him. But I don't think Oscar will be bothered about that kind of stuff. He's got too much money. He's too famous, too popular. He's not going to be bothered. Belanga is just distracting himself, and maybe that's going to be the reason why he gets beat by Hamza. You know what I mean? I think Hamza this time.
Well, before I talked to you about, how do you rate Edgar Belanga?
He's not a bad kid. He's not a bad kid. He's boxed. Like I say, he did nothing against Canelo, and that makes you wonder. But he didn't want to test himself and throw himself into the mix. So you don't know what he's capable of. But if that's what he's showing, he's obviously showed fear there and not wanted to engage. He just wanted to get through the fight. So, his last fight, he's played it safe. Whereas Hamza, in his last fight, didn't quite come up to the mark. He scraped through with a draw or whatever. He knows he's got something to prove this time and he's got to prove it. Whereas it'll be easier for Hamza to go up a gear because he knows what he's got to do. Whereas Belanga, didn't throw himself into that last fight, did he? He had the chance to make an impression and he didn't. And you'll probably find it'll be the same in this fight. If Hamza gets on top of him and starts dominating a little bit and bullying him, he'll probably go into a shell, this kid.
Okay. And obviously, talking about the fight itself, I was looking at obviously Hamza is a bit taller, but apparently the reach advantage is the same according to BoxRec. The both 73 centimeters. Um, how, what do you see happening in the actual fight? How do you kind of see it? You know,
It's
you said
difficult
that
because we didn't
Hamza's
really
both
see we
similar.
didn't really see Belanga do anything against Canelo. I
Mm.
did watch him against Jason Quigley, and Jason Quigley did really well. And if Jason Quigley, got through 12 rounds and had a fight with him at the back end of his career, somebody fresh like Hamza who's younger than Belanga, and with more punch power than Jason Quigley, all the advantages are with Hamza. So Hamza's just got to make sure he fights the proper fight. He's got to work behind the jab, wait for his opportunities, not get dragged in. That kid might start clowning around a little bit or trying to distract Hamza. Hamza's just got to keep it nice and calm, get behind his jab, not get distracted, and get everything off his jab. His straight jab, get his right hand in place, left hooks, but just take his time and break the guy down. No rush, nothing to prove, but systematically just take him back and hit him with decent straight shots. Quick combinations. Don't be trying to knock him out. Break him down first. Put a bit of fear into the guy and get him backing up and start to dominate from quite early in the fight. Don't give take the confidence away from the kid straight away, because he's already kind of half quit against Canelo. He didn't engage, and that's like quitting, but you're quitting and you're getting through the fight because you can probably run through it. So Hamza's got to be systematic in what he does, push him back, take his time, and make sure his shots connect nice and snappy. And then when he's got to put the right hand in, clip him with that and just pressure the guy.
What happens? How does that fight end?
Uh, it could be, the guy's tough. It could be a late stoppage if Hamza's got his mind on what he's doing. But other than that, it'll be I think a points win for Hamza.
Okay, point to an interesting. Um, yeah, that's it really. I'm gonna hopefully catch up with you early next week. We'll do a good breakdown of the big fight next weekend, and yeah, that's it really. You got anything else, Dom?
No, that's it. That's it for now.
The most powerful trait we have. You need power, speed. Let your imagination do the rest.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.